So, good morning, everyone. Just trying to get rid of this. Oops, there it is. There we are. Right. Good. My name is Justin Hollins, Group Sales and Marketing Director of the Test Media Group. We're going to talk today with regards to real-time location services and some of the services that we provide through Avantis here in Norway. So, a little bit of background of what we're going to cover. We're going to cover who we are, what we do. We're going to look at some of the data that the technology collects, how the data is held and how it's accessible. We will then try and understand some of the data integration points that we have and how you can use it with third-party applications, etc. We're going to cover GDPR, which is a big feature with regards to anything where we're holding data, especially real-time location services and MAC addresses currently. We will then look at customer interactions in terms of push messaging, and we'll kind of close with case studies and any other business. So a little bit about Test Media Group. We started 2 years ago. We have a number of offices around the world and subsidiaries, as well as a few resellers, and we've a few installations as well. The installations are growing. We've got some very interesting installations, from shopping malls through cruise ships into healthcare and childcare. So there's a number of different use cases. The one use case I think we are missing is a retailer, as in a specific retailer, which is very interesting to us. But we do cover retail from the shopping mall perspective. So essentially, we operate in two kind of verticals: Aptivate and Airloc8. Aptivate pretty much covers a lot of the Wi-Fi side of the business, if you like. We have everything from the Fortinet Wi-Fi offering, which a lot of you will also offer. Typically, that's really just as a platform to carry all of our applications. So things like video on demand, a captive portal, e-commerce, all runs through our Aptivate channel, and then through our Airloc8 channel is simply real-time location services. So it is the ability to track people, follow people, report on migration data, down to within sort of 1 to 3 meters accuracy in most cases. So some of the things we have with Aptivate, you'll already know high density Wi-Fi. Again, we use the Fortinet typically for that, and for the Airloc8, we can only use the Fortinet services. We effectively look to monetize that through the applications, and that's really where we get excited, if you like, for Aptivate. As I said, streaming video, social media apps. We have a reward use service, which is a plugin for the browser, which uses affiliate services, and we'll go into these at another time. Today we'll pretty much focus on the Airloc8 location services. But just to cover what the Aptivate channel does, the final piece is the captive portal. Of course, captive portal is really expensive. Typically, we like to think that we've got a captive portal that works at a particular price point, although it does have a number of features, perhaps not as rich as some, but it's one of those where it fits a market. And then so from Airloc8, so effectively we have patented real-time location tracking technology. So we can get down to 1 meter accuracy in the right environments. Typically, it's no worse than 3 meters. You do need to have the right infrastructure in place, and the building needs to be appropriately serviced, if you like, from a wireless perspective. But if all those things come to bear, then we can get people followed and tracked and managed very well indeed. Again, on the cruise ship, we have 11 decks of steel sitting on water, and we're getting 1 meter accuracy in parts of the ship, 2 meter accuracy in other parts of the ship. So pretty accurate in that very challenging environment. We cover 85% of all, well, we cover 100% all devices, but typically 85% of people have Wi-Fi switched on, which is all they need for this. No need for Bluetooth, no need to be connected to the Wi-Fi network. You don't have to log on or anything. So if you have your phone and you have Wi-Fi switched on, we can see you, and we can use the data that beaconing process provides. We're able to geofence areas. So within your building, we can look for specific areas, and we can geofence them. So we can put an invisible fence around those specific areas of interest, and that allows us to report on activity within that area. So people coming and going, people's dwell time, their conversion from areas adjacent to that area into that area. And there's a whole bunch of reporting around that, and again we'll cover some of that as we move forward. What this generates is a whole bunch of customized reports. Now they can be everything from real-time reports, as in literally what's happening right now, but also a lot of things and some of the more interesting data and specifically accurate and consolidated data can be delivered post the real-time piece. So what you'll see is in places like the shopping malls is there's a very big interest in what happened not only today but this week, this month, in terms of footfall, in terms of conversion into stores, in terms of dwell time, peak times of trading. All of these can be honed based on the historical reporting. We have an API. Now the API, and I'll explain to you how you can interact with that, but the API gives you literally real time to the second where someone is right now within your organization. And now that can be used for a number of things like wayfinding, things like find my child, where am I, where's the nearest convenience to me, a myriad of things the API can be used for. Asset tracking in terms of high value assets being managed and monitored. Healthcare is a great one for this. Where is the crash cart right now, for example? So a good way of managing your estate. And of course, all this produces some massive data. As an example of big data, on the ship, we get something like 9 million lines of data a day. We get 155,000 MAC addresses for purely 2,500 people. So really big data. A lot of work goes into tuning that data, honing it down to produce very high level accurate reporting. So in terms of what our data collects, what the technology collects, we've got two big pools of data effectively. One is the user data and the other is the location data. And what we're able to do is we can join these two bits of data to become really immersed in our users and our visitors and guests. So from our captive portal, and again, we can interface with other captive portals as well. But from a captive portal, let's say, username, first name, gender, age range, you'll have seen all these things before effectively. The stuff that you can collect through a captive portal on the left-hand side of the screen. So with regards to the user data, on the left-hand side, we can see the captive portal information, first name, surname, gender, age range, example. These are the things that we would have typically gather through a captive portal. Ours collects all of these, yours may collect more. And then on the right hand side gives you an example of the location data for one individual that we actually followed throughout one of our cruise ship cruises. And you can see there's some really quite accurate movement around here. So entering a suite on deck 8 for the night, so we can see that they spent 8 hours 19 minutes, an appropriate time for sleeping. And then we leave suite 504 and move to the atrium deck in the morning. So they're going up for breakfast. You can see that they go back to their room after breakfast. Then they go for a bit of a walk around deck 9 in the islands area. They walk around decks 4, 5, and 9, and then back to 6. Ultimately returning to 504 back to their room. They then go from 504 to the whirlpool on deck 9. Ultimately, they leave the whirlpool on deck 9, and then at around 11:15, they disappear completely because we believe they went ashore. I guess they may have turned their phone off completely or turned their Wi-Fi off, but it does make sense. It was a shore day, so they probably went ashore. And then they come back again. They return to deck 9 at 4:29. And then again, you can see them moving around the ship until later on that evening, where they actually go to bed at around 8:30. So an early night for somebody on a cruise ship, I would imagine. But it's just a sample piece of data of just how accurately we can follow people around a location. And of course, we can not only do this on a cruise ship, but even in smaller locations with regards to places like offices as well. And actually, that's becoming quite interesting. What we've been talking to a number of office folks who want to start to help plan their office moving. So put the Wi-Fi in 3 months before they do their office move. Do some real-time location services with regards to the usage on each of the desks and the conference rooms. That will help them understand the sort of square footage that they need moving forward to their next office move. So we've got a couple of live pieces of data we want to show you now. So what we've got here is the location dashboard, which we're going to show you live. We've got one of our locations we're going to show you live, and the captive portal. So I'm just going to break out, and we're going to go to the live that you've probably had some glimpses of before, but we're going to just drop out now. So Adrian, I'm going to put you back on, and if you could walk us through one of the lives, that would be great.
Perfect.
You've got that, great.
Great. Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen, that's great. It's the Mall of Africa?
No, this is Mall of Mauritius. That's my diary. Let me just clean up my desktop here a second. Sorry. Okay, so that's actually the Mall of Mauritius. On the top right-hand side, we've got Newtown Junction, which is in South Africa. On the bottom, on the right-hand side, that's in Namibia. And the top left-hand side, you'll see the ship that we were talking about earlier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly just zoom into the Mall of Mauritius for now. Maybe just a first point in case, some interesting stats is that we're currently delivering over 400 analytic reports for retailers. So not only for the mall, but we're also delivering 400 reports per retailer. So to give you an idea, in this case with Mall of Mauritius, and the way it really works is that because of the accuracy, each one of these tenants here actually is a standalone retailer. And as you heard earlier with regards to Justin saying that the geofenced areas, I like showing it live as well. So each one of these geofenced areas, which I highlight now, is a customer, and we have those very specific bits of information about the specific retailer. So how many people walk past, how many people pause, what is the conversion rate? But what's really, really nice in this regard, because we're doing the whole mall, we actually look at it from a global perspective and saying, what is the pathing of those people that are going to those tenants? Where did they come from? Where did they go? The idea behind this is very much also understanding those types of customers when they came to the mall and they didn't go to that customer as well. So the whole idea about the location services is not always just about that single geofenced area, but it's in relationship to the complete area. And that's obviously the benefit with regards to using the pervasive technology of Wi-Fi and not Bluetooth. So that's just a very quick one with regards to the detail and the ability of breaking down that information as well per site. What you'll see on this map as well is that let me just take away, you'll see different identifiers on the map itself. You'll see the orange shopping carts. So these orange shopping carts are just people with Wi-Fi switched on. The green shopping cart, you'll see their login details. So that's the people logged in through the Capita portal. And the green cogs are the people that are not logged on, but it's MAC randomization taking place at that stage. So that gives you that kind of capability and granularity. You also have the ability to go and track specific assets through the asset tracking module as well. And that will be able to give you the type of details. So you don't have a busy screen. You want either track individuals, assets, or high valued items. That will also come up through the screen on a live basis. I think another very two important parts with regards to Wi-Fi location services. The very first thing is we've also got a thing called a location anchor. A location anchor is something that is installed on site that continuously monitors the accuracy of the RF field. As this is continuously changing, it's important for us to understand to what degree it changes, and it doesn't change for the whole site. It changes for very specific areas. In this specific site here, what we've done, you'll see these little crosshairs. Those are locations where we've done location audits, calibration audits. So these are also the things that we do periodically to ensure that the accuracy stays accurate, and also understanding the variation to it. If anyone tells you that RF is standard and once it's working, it always works the same, they've never tried to do location services. You must understand the variation, and I think it's the one thing is not to turn away, but to approach it constructively, saying, listen, as it changes, we'll understand the changing, and we can do two corrections. We can either do an inline correction if required, or we can do post correction, as Justin was mentioning earlier as well. So that then gives you just a very quick view on the detail of how we're able to take this massive amount of data, analyze it in the correct manner. It's not only always about the real time, but the real time is the starting point. The next thing is being able to put it into a report or a constructive format. This is just an example of a healthcare report that can be generated, and again gives you the granularity is up to every 3 to 5 seconds, but it's how much information you actually want to show at any one stage. Comes through on what we call single page sample reports, and as well with regards to identify other specific areas or specific assets can be brought through onto those reports. Are there any, that's just a very quick overview of the live setup and the engine. Are there any other specific things that I could cover?
No, I think for me, Adrian, I think just to point out that what we're looking at here is, these are 4 live sites. So this is not, this is not recorded data. This is not sort of demo or dummy data. Each of these 4 screens that everyone's looking at here, these are live, including the cruise ship that you've got up in the top left-hand corner.
Quite correct. Yeah, and maybe one of the other things that I can also show you, what we have got is in this specific site, we've got 1 engine and we've got 3 malls. So it's also this is a single customer that has 3 different malls on 1 engine, and this will give you the indication of how you could manage that as well. So we can go into massive amounts of that's my granularity with regards to how and what we want to manage on a single view screen as well. Let me just bring up, this is not bringing up the correct picture on Phoenix. Let me just go back here, refresh. So yeah, so that's also another way of managing various engines for various sites. I think the other important part is you can have the engines both on site In this case, it's preferred purely because of the amount of data that is being processed at any one time. You could, if you've got smaller sites, do a cloud-based engine. It's very risky doing the cloud-based one. You need to have good connectivity, and you also have to be very conscientious of where that cloud hosting service is with regards to confidentiality and data movement and all those types of things as well. So to date, we have got 2-3 deployments of cloud, but the majority of our deployments are actually sitting on site.
Brilliant. I think that's brilliant, Adrian. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate your time.
Perfect. Let me see if I can hand back to you. Gonna make you presenter, yeah.
Great stuff.
You got it back again?
I think so. We'll just drop back into the PowerPoint now. Okay, great stuff. So thanks, Adrian. So yeah, great opportunity to see some of the live sites there. We do have a couple of other views though. Rather than just the green and orange views, we have a couple of other views which I will walk you through now as well. So for Thompson, for the cruise ship, this is the cruise ship. This is our customer Thompson. We're on deck 5 here. The blue assets are the access points, and then you can see the orange and green individual MAC addresses. But something that Thompson wanted was a way to interpret the data. So they asked for a dashboard with some KPIs included. So we created this screen for them. This screen manages both their boats, so Discovery 1 and Discovery 2, the 2 cruise ships that they have. And down the side here, these are all of the geofences, if you like, the locations that they asked us to monitor. One of them specifically was the live casino. So you can see that we've selected from July 31st, from the middle of the night till the middle of the following night, so the full day. And what we've asked for is a dwell time of 10 minutes. So that means that somebody would have to have been in one of these areas for 10 minutes or more. And what that has generated for us is a number of connections, which is the people that they saw within that time, and then the number of visits specifically. So what we like about the visits is so we've had 75 people who have visited, basically stayed within inside that geofence for 10 minutes or more, and 19 of those people have returned. So more than one visit. So the average actually was 1.25 visits per day. So the people that come, a good quarter of them tend to come more than once. And I think that's something that they're looking to work on. They felt that the casino wasn't really doing the business that they had wanted it to. So they've put that they want to monitor that area specifically to see if they can start promoting maybe some free cash, some free games to try and get people to come more often. But 75 people out of about 2,000 guests on board is probably not a high enough return for them. So that was interesting data. The busiest hour was 10 o'clock, so that seems to be the casino time. And then the busiest hour for passers-by. Now, a passerby is defined as somebody that goes into the geofence that is adjacent to the casino. So if we look at the ship here, and I turn on the geofences, and we can see at the front here, there's a geofence here, and there's one adjacent to it here. And effectively, what we're saying is that we're monitoring this area, but a passerby would be somebody that would be in either in this area here or this area here. So we actually have helped them understand the opportunity, if you like, of the people that are passing nearby as well. The total passers-by 273. So it's a massive amount of people that are, in terms of being able to drive this 75 number up. There's a pool of 273 people that are going by. So again, we help them create this particular board. One of the other ones that's interesting on this dashboard is Movies by Moonlight. So Movies by Moonlight is they have a big screen on the top deck of the ship, and of an evening, from 5 o'clock in the evening through till midnight, they actually show movies. So if we could look at this, take the same date and just change the times to go from 5 till midnight. Again, we picked a 10-minute dwell time. You can see that 40 people would have been up on that top deck watching, or in the area where the movies are being shown. 200 total connections, 245 people passing by. 4 o'clock seemed to be the busiest time. So again, you know, at this point, this is perhaps not on a great solution for them. It's not proving that out of the 2,000 guests, only 40 people being in the area when the movies are being shown. It's not ideal. So it's just a different way of looking at the data. So back to the presentation. So some of the things that we've been asked, you know, in terms of, you know, people, how to use this data, some of the things that we've been asked by the retailers we're working with, Toys R Us, one of our retailers, we try and give them answers, if you like, try and answer to the requirements that they pose. And this is a number of questions that were posed by a specific retailer, Toys R Us. And I don't think this is untypical. So if you look at the things that they're looking to do, they want to provide free internet access to their customers. That's not unusual. I think you'll have heard that from a lot of retailers. Customer login via loyalty card, social media. Again, all this is sort of captive portal stuff. But when you get down to the fifth point, location, track customer journey throughout the store, and dwell points. But, you know, these stores want to know where their customers are going. They want to know where they're stopping and browsing, and they want to be able to help them in those locations. And in ways of helping them, they want to look at beaconing or push messages. So, you know, we work with Bluetooth beacons as well as smaller geofences ourselves. A lot of people have invested in Bluetooth beacons, and we appreciate that investment. So we're not going to ignore Bluetooth, but actually we can probably, you know, in the majority of cases, we can set the Wi-Fi network up and the geofence up in a small enough area that we can do everything that a Bluetooth beacon can do. However, we do have a way of interacting with those Bluetooth beacons for push messaging, and we'll walk through that in just a second. Providing store maps and search functionality. So we have a wayfinding application, which again we'll run through in just a moment. So all these are sort of location-based requirements, if you like. Stock check functionality. So we use an e-commerce, our e-commerce solution for that, and the ability to find particular items by scanning them inside the smartphone application. And then building interaction videos. Again, we'll show you that with regards to our push messaging. So on this screen here, so what you can see here is one of the store's management screens. We set each of the stores up. So I'm going to, we're just going to pick any store down here. I think I typically pick one near the bottom. So let's look at Pandora. You can see that Pandora is a store within the shopping mall. It has the ability to set itself up with its website and its email and all the contact details, all the typical stuff you would expect. But most important piece here is its floor plan ID. Now, this floor plan ID is effectively the geofence that we spoke about earlier on. So if we go back to the ship, you can see that the ship here has a floor plan ID. See this ID here. When we're setting the shop up, the shop has a floor plan ID. It's obviously a slightly different number, but that's just a naming convention. So once you've set your store up and the store wants to run a promotion, you can come to the promotion over here, and you can see that Cotton On I've got an upcoming promotion. If we look at a few in the past, there's a few more. So Pandora has one here. So if we click on here, we can see that Pandora have this buy two and get a third special. That's the name of the promotion. It's the text inside the promotion is Women's Day special. And you can see if they had a Bluetooth beacon, this is where we can connect to their beacons here, and we can still use that beacon push capability within the smartphone application. Importantly, now we link to the store, Pandora. So this basically this message will push when they go inside that geofence. You can see this is the image of the message that we're going to push. We could add a PDF here at this stage, and as I said, a video URL here. So if we wanted to explain more about a product, we're able to do that here. At the moment, we're targeting everybody within our opt-in database, but we can start to segment. So if Pandora, you might drop out, different age groups, and it was a Women's Day special, you might just make it for women. So we've just dropped the people that we're looking to engage to form this specific targeted message to women between the ages of 25 and 64, and that's 181 people within our database. So you can see how powerful this targeting and push messaging can become. Okay, so how is the data held and is it accessible? So this is our architecture, our network architecture. You can see in the top left-hand corner the Fortinet Wi-Fi network, just a standard network design with a Fortinet controller. We plug into that controller for our captive portal service, and again, it's just a typical AAA radius server with a web server and reporting off the back of that. We then have our location services on the left-hand side here. And as you can see, we come from the Fortinet controller straight into the Engage engine before we do anything else. So there's work happening, a lot of work happening on this Engage engine, point one. We go off to the left with historical data and our reporting of the cleaned historical data, but we actually have a branch down to the bottom to our real-time data feed as well. So that's where we have our API layer. And that allows us to interface to third-party applications. So if you have a customer that already has an app and they want to add some location data to it, it could be anything from, like I say, where am I, wayfinding, could be something to do. We've done scavenger hunts, very similar to Pokemon Go. So find specific items within a geofence, find specific geofence or specific treasure or Easter egg hunts within a specific department or within a mall, and all this they can access where you are, where a MAC address user is using our real-time data feed, and we can share some of that API with us. It's a published API. And then bottom right-hand side we have Reward You and our mobile application as well on the left-hand side. So points of integration, we have 3 points of integration. We have an API for our captive portal, we have an API for the location services, and we have a user data repository, which is effectively our opt-in user database. It's our opt-out as well, but it's basically all the users that have interacted with us are stored in our user data repository. Typical reporting. In terms of captive portal, sessions versus logged on users, subscribers, registration, how they're registered, languages, age ranges, gender, all those things come through our captive portal, and we can produce splash pages that align with that. And more importantly, what we're doing is we're taking our captive portal data and we're joining it to the location data so that there's a rounded view of that user. GDPR, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. I would imagine most of you, but certainly the General Data Protection Regulations coming out, I believe it's the 25th of May 2018 is when it comes into force, and effectively it just means that we have to be a lot more conscious about the way that we store, hold data and then interact with people through that, using that data. So we have a designated representative in the company who is our officer for GDPR compliancy, and that person is making sure that we maintain our compliancy and we only interact with those opt-in people. So just coming to that push notifications again. So here's an example of how a push message will work on board the cruise ship. You can see that we can target people as small as 1 meter squared. and you can see there's a couple of geofences set up on this particular image here. For the user to receive that message, they have to walk into that geofence. When they do, we have a number of ways that we can push that message to them. It could be they would have to be connected to either the smartphone application or the Wi-Fi, so we can push through a browser. But effectively, there are pretty much only sort of 4 ways that we can get in touch with these people. So a push message can be pushed over Wi-Fi. We can use Facebook and Twitter when they're not connected to Wi-Fi. We can also use the smartphone app itself, or if we've collected the telephone number through a previous registration, we can use SMS. Those are the only ways that we can actually push to people. So there are some restrictions, but actually it does open up a lot more than just targeting those folks with Bluetooth switched on. So just a couple of case studies for you. We've mentioned the shopping malls. You've seen a couple of the shopping malls. These are relatively large places. The Mall of Africa, which we didn't see, but is the largest mall in Africa. On its opening day, it saw 90,000 people come through its doors, and our solution counted all of those people and captured all of those MAC addresses. And as you can see, the TUI Discovery, which I have 2 of these now. This is the first one. This one, Best New Cruise Ship of the Year in 2016 when it was launched, and has pervasive Wi-Fi over 11 decks, circa 500 access points, and as I say, we can track a MAC address on that ship from anywhere in the world. So if you're going on holiday, let us know, and we'll be able to keep an eye on you. Just some data points in terms of the case studies, in terms of numbers of access points and numbers of visitors per day, and then the size of the buildings. Just to prove that it's a very flexible product. We're actually have some much smaller buildings as well. We're just going into a very small office in London, just 7 access points. But again, they want to understand more about what their office is doing, so that when they move offices in the coming future, they move to an appropriate sized building, and they'll take all that infrastructure with them. And then finally, an example of healthcare. This is a mock-up. We haven't delivered this yet, but we are starting to deliver healthcare statistics like you saw from Adrian earlier on. You can see that we can color the different types of people differently, especially if they're known people or known assets, which gives you a slightly different picture. And we're doing the same for education as well, in higher ed and in secondary schools. We can put more information connected to those particular assets when they're known. We can search for specific assets and or people. You can see we're searching for an X-ray unit here. Once those assets are found, we can wayfind to those assets as well. And of course, we can integrate interface to mobile applications. So here we have the ICU ward, and if an alarm goes off in the ICU ward, we can see which bed we need to go to. So again, integration through to third-party applications, which is vital really, because we don't expect to be the front end and the consumer of all of this data, but we know that there are a lot of people out there that want to augment and improve their current applications using location services.